traditional tale, Cinderillan, which is a Caribbean Cinderella story. You may think you know this story I'm going to tell you, but you have not heard it for true. I was there. So I will tell you the truth of it here, now. Cinderillan, a Caribbean Cinderella, written by Robert D. Sansucci, illustrated by Brian Pinkney. I live on a green island in the Sault Mer des Antilles, the Caribbean Sea. Long ago, when I was a child, my family was poor. When my mother died, she left only one thing, a wand of mahogany. 3 taps will change one thing into another, my mother had whispered, but only for a short time, and the magic must be used to help someone you love. Of what use was this to an orphan like me, who every day struggled to find shelter and fill her belly? I could not use the wand. I had no one to love and no one who loved me. When I grew up, I worked as a blanketteuse, a washerwoman, scrubbing other people's sheets and shirts at the riverside, drying them in the sun. One woman I worked for was kind. I often nursed her, for she was always sickly, poor creature. In thanks, she made me the Nanan, godmother of her baby girl, Cinderella. When I held that baby in my arms on her christening day, I felt such love, and I saw love return from her sweet brown eyes. Alas, Cinderella's mama died soon after this. Then her papa, Monsieur, married again. Madame Prosperine was a cold woman and puffed up proud because her grandfather had come from France. When a new daughter, Vitaline, was born, Madame gave a christening party for her rich friends. What a feast it was! Madeline and the other fine ladies were dressed in satin and velvet and all the colors of the rainbow. They laughed at my worn white skirts and peasant's way of speaking. Pretty Cinderella came and kissed me. Bonjour, Nanan. She gave me a cup of punch. Her hands were blistered and red. Pauvre petite Cinderella, my poor child, I cried. What have you done to yourself? She shrugged. My father's wife works me like a serving girl, and Monsieur allows this. Sighing, she said, he fears Madame, but I am strong. The work hurts me, my hands, but not my heart. Someday I will find a way to help you. Even as I spoke them, my words sounded hollow. What could I, a poor washerwoman, do for my dearest? When she was older, Cinderella would come to the river each morning to do the family's laundry. Her sweet bonjour was music. Her smile was sunshine, even when clouds hid the sun. We knelt beside the other blanketeuses and talked and sang and laughed as we scrubbed the clothes. Cinderella seemed so happy. I wished that I could always see her so. Nothing was easy for her at home. Madame had spoiled Vitaline ate dainties. Cinderella often only had a handful of manioc flour and tail ends of codfish. All day she worked. At night she slept on a hard straw pallet. Then, one day, she came sad-faced to the river. No singing or joking would make her smile. I asked, what troubles you so, my child? There is a ball tonight, but I am not to go, she said, looking so miserable. My heart nearly snapped in two. Vitaline and Mama will go, but Mama says I am lazy. Does it mean so much to you, this ball? Oh, yes, Nanan, she cried. It is a birthday fete for Paul, Monsieur Thibault's son. He is so handsome and well-spoken. He is like a prince, yet he is kind. Do not cry, my dear one, I said, hugging her. Tonight you will go to the ball. For true? Upon my soul I promise this, I said, though I was fearful of risking so much when I had no plan. But her smile lightened my heart, and as she gathered up her laundry, I heard her singing. Long after she left, I sat watching the river. How am I going to keep my promise? I asked myself. When I could think of no answer, I prayed to Bon Dieu, good God, and he answered because I began to think what I must do. It was dark when I reached home, took my mother's wand from the shelf, and hurried to my sweet Cinderella. What a hubble bubble at the house! Cinderella's papa stood on the porch holding his gold watch, while the coachman waited beside the family carriage. "We are late," Monsieur said, as if the fault belonged to me. Inside, Madame and Vitaline were shouting, "Cinderella, find my shoulder scarf! Cinderella, comb my hair!" I helped arrange Madame's gown, while Cinderella combed Vitaline's hair. Finally, they were off, away. Good riddance. Upon the instant, I told Cinderella, "Now you will go to the ball." "But I have no carriage," she protested. "I have no gown." "Go into the garden and pick a fruit upon," I said. The child looked at me as if she thought, "My poor Nanon has gone mad." But she found a big round breadfruit. I tapped it 3 times, toot, 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 with my wand, and it became a gilded coach. So far, so good. Cinderella gasped, but I told her, "Do not waste your breath on questions. We still have much to do." Toot, toot, toot. 6 agotus in a cage became 6 splendid carriage horses. Toot, toot, toot. 5 brown lizards became 5 tall footmen. Toot, toot, toot. A plum manitou changed to a coachman. Then I tapped Cinderella. Her poor calico dress was changed to a trailing gown of sky blue velvet. Upon her head sat a turban just as blue, pinned with a tremblant pin of gold. She had a silk shoulder scarf of pale rose, rings in her ears, bracelets, and a necklace of 4 strands of gold beads bigger than peas. Upon her feet were elegant pink slippers embroidered with roses. It was enough to hurt my eyes to look at my darling. Finally, I turned my washerwoman's shift into a fine red dress. I would chaperone Cinderella, as suited a proper young lady. Away we went over the bridge through the town, along the shore to the Grand Mansion of Monsieur Thibault. Just before we stepped down from the carriage, I warned Cinderella, "The magic lasts only a short time. We must leave before the midnight bell is rung." "Yes, Nanon," she promised. What a grand entrance Cinderella made. All eyes turned toward her and could not turn away. I heard whispers all around. "Who is that pretty girl? Look how fine her clothes are. Did she come from France?" Even Cinderella's stepmother and sister did not recognize the 2 of us, though they peered crossly at us. Then Paul, his eyes blazing with love fire, asked her to dance. And he refused to dance with any other. I know. I watched as I ate. Oh, what fine food I helped myself to, as I watched the handsome couple, even chocolate sherbet. Cinderella was so happy, and I was happy seeing her, so that we forgot to mark the time. Suddenly, I heard the distant bells strike the first chime of midnight. Astonishing all with my rudeness, I grabbed Cinderella's hand and cried, "It's nearly midnight, we must go." For a moment I feared that she would not obey. Then she turned and we ran toward the door. Paul cried, "Wait, I don't even know your name." He ran after us, but guests and servants, confused by such running and shouting, blocked his way. As it was, we barely escaped to our carriage because Cinderella stumbled on the stair. She had to leave behind one embroidered slipper. Off we sped into the night as I counted the chimes, and the moment I heard the 12th stroke, we found ourselves in the dusty road beside a smashed breadfruit. Around us, agoutis and lizards, and a fat manicou scurried into the brush. We walked home like two ragged washerwomen. Our fine clothes were gone, all except Cinderella's one pink slipper. She took it off, saying, "I will keep this to remind me of this wonderful night and a happiness I will never know again." "But," I said, "I will help you visit Paul again." She shook her head. "I see now that it was not Cinderella he fell in love with," she said. "He was under the spell of your wand. When the magic goes, the love, too, will fade from his eyes." "Alas," I said, "my plans have come to nothing. I cannot give you the gift of love that would change your life for true." "Dear godmother," she said, kissing my cheek, "you gave me this night. It is enough." I did not see Cinderella at the river the next day. When I called at the house, I found she was in bed. Madame and Vitaline said she was being lazy, but I saw she was sick, with a broken heart. I struck her brow for a good long time, until I heard a great commotion. When I looked for the cause, I found that Paul had arrived. He was followed by a footman carrying Cinderella's lost pink slipper on a satin pillow. To Madame and Vitaline he explained, "I am searching for the lovely stranger who was at the fete last night. This is her slipper. I am asking all unmarried young women on the island to try it on. I will wed the one whose foot it fits." From the doorway I heard Madame say, "My pretty daughter is the only unmarried girl in this house." Then Vitaline and her mamma tried to force the girl's big foot with toes like sausages into the slipper. Such grunting and groaning you never heard. So eager were they, I feared they would destroy the slipper. "If you cut off your big toes," I called out, "it would be a fine fit." Madame screeched, "Go away, old woman!" And I did. Straight back to Cinderella's room I marched. "Now, child, if you love me," I charged her, "do this one thing for me. Go out into the hall." She drew a shawl around her cotton shift. Barefoot she went into the hall, where panting Madame and sobbing Vitaline had given up the battle of the slipper. But just as Paul was turning to go, I tapped Cinderella, toot, 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 with my wand. To the astonishment of all, she appeared as she had at the ball. "No, godmother dear," she said, "no more spells." With a sigh, I touched her again, and she was as before in her shift and shawl. Without hesitation, Paul knelt before her. Gently he placed the slipper on her foot. Then he said, "You are as beautiful this minute as you were last night." And everyone in the room could see the true love in his eyes. Cinderella and Paul were married soon after this. Even the King and Queen of France never had such a wedding. The guests ate and danced and sang and ate again for 3 days. I know, because I was there. I danced the guaca and ate 9 helpings of chocolate sherbet and came away only to tell you this tale. The end.